German priests who built Techni Towers arrived here 100 years ago, they found farmers already tilling the prairie soil to grow crops, replacing the tall grass which had grown for centuries, the colorful flowers which bloomed from the early spring through the first frost. These plants had lived through terrible cold, heat, and drought, even fire, their roots tucked deep in the ground. But these hardy plants could not survive the onslaught of sharp steel plows. Today, less than 1% of Illinois' prairie is left, and those who treasure it are fighting hard to save it.
When we lose the native plants, we lose heritage. This is what was here before our grandfathers, great-grandfathers, predecessors, whatever, got here. This is a little bit of the native Illinois tallgrass prairie. So we lose the heritage, and biologically, we lose the gene pool. These are plants that have a genetic memory of surviving the weather conditions here that have been influenced their establishment since the glaciers left roughly 10,000 years ago.
Naturalist Kent Fuller was thrilled to discover that a small piece of the prairie survives on the grounds of the old Naval Air Base in Glenview. He comes here to watch the birds and insects which populate a prairie and to gather seeds.
When you get familiar with this place, you see layers and layers of complexity, and eventually you get to know the seeds as well. Now these are the seeds of the nodding wild onion, and this is the seed head. It has a little nodding head of delicate flowers anywhere from white to quite red, but the seeds are ready to fall here, these little black seeds. They're truly a member of the onion family, smell like an onion, but they have beautiful little flowers. One of the common names is Chicago, which is given by the Indians, and some people say that's how Chicago got its name, was the nodding wild onion.
There are perhaps 1,000 people in the Chicago area who collect seeds, hoping to restore some small pieces of the prairie state. But rebuilding fields with nearly 200 kinds of flowers, plants, and grasses will take decades. And even then, we can't match the amazing work of nature.
What you're looking at here is really a very, very intricate puzzle of growing things that have evolved into a living community. So in a sense, what we're looking at is about 14 acres that is a living organism.
This living organism is not expensive to maintain. Unlike modern landscapes, it requires no mowing, fertilizing, weeding, or irrigation. What the prairie needs every year or two is a fire. In the old days, lightning often provided the spark to burn away dead grasses and foreign plants which choke off growth.
If we can bring fire in, it sets back the invaders, and it really favors the plants that evolve with fire. Some of them really need some fire to stimulate them to grow, and there's a place over on the other side here where we burned that we had the big blue stem grass was maybe knee-high last year. This year, after the fire, it's 6 feet tall.
Kent Fuller hopes to save this natural wonder for the birds which thrive here. And for the animals, from ground squirrels and land turtles to the mysterious lobster-like creatures which burrow beneath the prairie.
They're called chimney crayfish because they have a chimney-like burrow that goes down until they get to the water table. And this area has tight clay underneath, and so the water table is quite high. They dig down until they get to the water, and they dig a chamber. So the only critter I know that's got an indoor swimming pool wherever they live. They are all over the place here. At first I couldn't figure it out. I said, why are these, I'd see claws or whatever. What are they doing so far from water? Well, they're only a foot or two away from water. It's just that it's straight down.
And finally, he says, this land should be saved for the children of Glenview and northern Illinois.
My wife brought some kids out here a little while ago and had them read a section from Little House on the Prairie before they came here, and then walked them through this area with the tall grass, and they got a vivid picture of what was talked about in that book, where I think one of the kids got lost for a little while in the tall grass, and they could really understand how could that happen in grass. Well, here you can see it.
This prairie land is valuable to the village of Glenview. It can be sold to developers for thousands of dollars. But in a community already blessed with plenty of prime residential and commercial real estate, this natural wonder offers something which money cannot buy.
I think you have to ask the question, what about 14 acres of forest preserve? Why don't we just sell off 14 acres of forest preserve somewhere or 14 acres of the grove. I mean, when you look at it purely as saying, oh my goodness, we could make money on that, that's true, we could. But what's it worth to the people of Glenview over a very long time to save part of Glenview's original prairie heritage?
If you'd like to see this land saved in its natural state, call the Glenview Prairie Preservation Project at 291-7434.